Welcome back to City Boys Extra Time. It's good to be back here. I'm Grayson, your bald host, wearing a very interesting kit. It's been a while since I've worn an LA Galaxy kit, but I'm happy to be here. Jacob, how are you feeling on this fine Wednesday?
I'm doing all right. I decided to class up a little bit and throw on a nice little jumper, as they say, across the pond. It's been a fine Wednesday. Made a fire dinner, bro. I
Mm,
watched one of those Facebook videos for like I just stumbled across this dinner recipe and I was like, that looks delicious. And I knocked it out of the park. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Cooking
what
is
was
not
it?
my strong suit, but I crushed it. It's like this chicken corn over rice. I also ate it with
Class.
whatchamacallit, scoops, the scoops chips.
Oh
So
yeah, 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 yeah.
it was gas. It was gas.
My food inspiration was today was some smashed yam. It's a Nigerian food, but it looks good and apparently it's really good for recovery.
Oh,
Uh, Alex Awobi, thanks for putting me on there. Um, but I might have to try that. Might have to try that. Some igusi. We'll see. We'll see. But let's go ahead and talk about some ball because we had another exciting week of some MLS footy with some like pretty interesting stuff going around the league as well. We had um, a certain big name coach getting let go from a pretty bad team. So we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, a bit of an interesting time in the MLS. There was just the recent announcement that USL is, creating a Division One competitor. So I think we should have a separate episode maybe to talk about that because that's a big enough topic on its own.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's super exciting. Super exciting time for US soccer in general. So let's go ahead and get into our Western Conference matchups first. So first game I want to talk about is a very timely match because it is the Dallas versus Sporting Kansas City matchup. And as I said, one of these teams would lose their coach at the end of the match. We'll see who. Daniel Shallowy from Sporting Kansas City would actually open the scoring here with a banger. Takes it off the chest. I think, no, it takes it off his knee and then buries it outside of the boot to the far corner. Super clean. But it was swiftly answered by Lucci Acosta again, teaming up with his fellow DP, Pitar Musa. And then Leo Chu would get the winner minutes later. But this goal was all about Sebastian Lletget putting in some work down the line, bodying off the defender. Just a big effort play, putting in a good pass to Leo Chu for a simple finish, but it was really all Lletget. And because of that 2-1 loss, the big storyline is Peter Vermees would be dismissed from his head coaching role. 17-year run at the helm of Sporting Kansas City, but I think it's about time. It's about time. Jacob, I'm sure you saw this one coming.
Didn't necessarily see it coming. It's crazy though to think that when he was first appointed head coach, they were still the Kansas City Wizards, and then they went through an entire rebrand with him
Yeah.
as head coach into what they are now, Sporting Kansas City. Um, I didn't really see it coming because of all the chatter at the start of the year about Kansas City giving him a 2-year leash to turn the team around.
It's
And that
true.
2-year leash quickly got cut down into 6 matches. And then
Yeah.
Leo Chu is the player that gets Peter Vermees fired.
It's an interesting one.
Tough
Yeah.
looks in Kansas City.
Very tough, very tough. And I actually I saw today on Twitter, it was a screenshot of his mugshot from when he got a DUI as Wizards head coach. So that was a while ago. Not to set you out or anything, man, but I just thought it was funny. It was the headline was Wizards head coach DUI, Peter Vermees. I was like, no fucking way. That's so
Tough
good.
looks. Tough
Tough
looks.
looks funny. You probably thought we forgot about that one. Sorry. Moving on, we got Minnesota extending their run of form with a 2-0 thumping of Real Salt Lake. Nice brace from the Canadian Oluwase. Fantastic header for the first one. And then the second one is a really nice counter. He takes it from his own half and just runs pretty much in a straight line and then just buries it. I think the goal did get nominated for goal of the week. But I've seen a lot of debate. A lot of people hate these kinds of goals where they're covering a lot of distance, but not necessarily beating any defenders. You know, sound off in the comments what you guys think about certain goals like this. But either way, 2-0, very important win for Minnesota and Real Salt Lake. That is with Diego Luna back in the starting lineup. So interesting there. They will need to turn it around, but hey, Minnesota's a good team. Minnesota's a good team. One of the bigger matches from this week, one of my nominations for match of the week is the another California Classico is born after this thriller, and it would be the brand new San Diego FC coming out on top, re-establishing themselves as a top side this season. I will say the LAFC comeback was a pretty cool thing to watch, but they would get a red card in I think about the 60th minute that would kill off the game even though they did have a lot of good chances to get back into it, they had two goals unanswered, but they could not find the third. And it would be Oni Valakari, the Finnish striker for San Diego FC. I think a lot of people aren't really talking about him. They're talking about Dreyer. They're talking about, everyone else in this San Diego side. But Oni Valakari has 2 goals and 3 assists in 6 matches. Like,
That's pretty good.
steady, a sneaky player here. Um, in other news, Cengiz Under would get his first for LAFC as well. So, there are some positives to take away here from LAFC, but just unlucky to shouldn't have gone down three goals that early. Jacob, do you think San Diego is officially competing for supporter shield at least?
They're definitely making an argument for Supporter Shield right now. It looks like they're in third in the Western Conference. I don't know what they are overall. But 11 points from 6 matches, expansion side. A very impressive run. And this is with, I think Chucky Lozano is still out injured, correct?
He did come into this match, I think, as a sub, but yeah, this was his first game back.
There was a red card in this match.
Yeah, that was for I can't remember who got it. I think it was a second yellow. It was an interesting call because yeah, that would because San Diego is up 3-0, and then LAFC would get 2 goals back right before halftime, setting up for a really exciting second half. And then that red card just took a lot of steam out of LA. So
Igor Jesus with the second
yes,
yellow.
yes, Igor Jesus, a center midfielder from Brazil, I believe. But yeah, unlucky for LA. You know, really good side, but coming up short here and there. So they're sitting mid-table. Moving on, another good game. San Jose won, Seattle Sounders won. Stalemate there. I think this is a game both squads we expected to be a lot better than they are right now. So far, they're pretty good, but haven't lived up to the high expectations we set this season. So I think both teams have a lot to prove as the season wears on. Into a not so fun one, Austin FC would climb the table. They're sitting in second now, thanks to a 1-0 win, stealing 3 points from St. Louis, uh, off a team that's just really misfiring on all cylinders right now. Strikers can't score, defenders can't defend at the moment, so it's a tricky one. Jacob, do you think Austin FC is this good to be sitting this high up in the table?
I think they have every single match won by 1 goal. that they've
Yeah.
won. So, I mean, a gritty team, expect nothing less from a
Yeah.
Texas side. Yeah, quiet dark horse. They're sitting in second place right now in the Western Conference. And it's a long season, but if you keep winning gritty games 1-0, you're going to keep stacking points. And then a home playoff match, come playoff time, I don't
Yeah.
see why they couldn't start competing for the cup.
Yeah, they've got a pretty decent offense that hasn't been firing yet exactly how they want. Izuni, I believe, is one of their DPs who just got his first goal in this game versus St. Louis. And then, of course, Brandon Vasquez, he got his goal last week, but still has been kind of non-factor in a lot of these games so far. And I think he did start to wake up a little bit in these past couple matches. So we'll see how that goes for Austin. But if Brandon Vasquez wakes up, Austin is going to be looking real good this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more game for me here, and that is Portland destroying Houston. I'd say destroy it 3-1. That's a decent result there. Good for them. Felipe Mora would open the scoring for Portland, and Houston tried to stick in the match with a goal from their center back Franco Escobar, but they would be buried by a brace from Anthony. And it really does look like Portland is starting to wake up. I think they're a really good side. They did move on from Evander, of course, and then they signed David da Costa, Portuguese. I think he's like 25, so he's still very young. He's got a lot of energy in him. He's a lot different than a lot of the DPs we see in this league. So I think
Yep.
Portland is an exciting team. I think they're a little bit better than their um, placing in the table at the moment, but
They put it on Houston in this match. They had 16 shots with nine of them on target and only 40% possession. So, with the chances that they had, they were making them count.
oh yeah. But that would be the Western Conference for this week. So let's go ahead and take a look at the table, of course. We'll start at the bottom. Sporting Kansas City. Sorry, guys, but you're sitting bottom with just 1 point in 6 matches so far. I don't think there's any other team just as bad at the moment, but with, the new coach bounce, who knows what could happen against St. Louis next week. Um, I do. It's going to be a St. Louis City win. I know exactly what's going to happen. We got Houston and LA down there in 13th. I bet LA's. I was holding up the Adidas. I bet LA's loving that 13th place down there. And then, of course, at the top, we've got San Diego FC moving up to third place. Austin FC sitting uncharacteristically in second, in my opinion, but also, they're doing great. And then Vancouver Whitecaps, no one's touching them. I think they did just win their Champions League game tonight as well. I think that they just saw them score before we started filming. Let me check. I'm curious. Oh, they tied. They tied. No way. Guess who scored against them to tie the game?
Who'd they play?
Universidad Nacional, Pumas.
No idea.
Karaski.
Ah,
Of course, it had to be. It had to be. Making it 1-1, so they tie. So I don't exactly know how this cup is working, but LAFC and Inter Miami are currently tied 0-0 at halftime right now. So interesting. This is the quarterfinals, so probably just get a replay there, second leg.
yeah.
But any big teams in the West that you want to mention, Jacob?
No, I think the table is starting to really form itself. Like uh, every team that's in a playoff spot makes sense, except for honestly, probably St. Louis, which hurts to say because we haven't been playing that well. I think San Jose could get hot again and go on a run and bump us out of there.
Yeah.
Seattle Sounders sitting in 12th. That's strictly due to injuries. And then LA Galaxy only on 2 points as the defending champs is wild to me. But everybody else above, like if you would have shown me this table at the start of the season, it would be surprising, but it would also make sense at the same time.
Yeah. Very interesting. If you showed me, yeah, if you showed me this table in preseason, I'd be like, this is weird, man. This is weird. But that would be it for the West. So why don't we go ahead and take it over to the Eastern Conference? Jacob.
Gladly. So we're going to kick the Eastern Conference off with the New England Revolutions versus New York Red Bull. This was a two-goal game from former MLS MVP Carlos Heel, including a banger of a free kick that led the Revs over the Red Bulls. Choupo-Moting also gets off the block with a goal to his name in this match. But that's pretty much all we wrote for that game. Next, we've got Inter Miami beating Charlotte FC 2-1 with a goal from Messi off the bench and Robert Taylor. Moving to the Philly match, lone goal scorer is Daniel Gazdag. Atlanta United and New York City, arguably the most messy defending game in this match. Goals were conceded by bad play and lapses in concentration, all the way up to the game-winning goal for Atlanta United in the 84th minute with a final score of 4-3, a seven-goal thriller from
Banger.
that match. Columbus Crew beat DC United 2-1. Diego Rossi, surprise, surprise, scores a brace for Crew. And Grayson, I'm going to mention it every single time. Your Benteke under is not looking good because Benteke also got on the score sheet again for DC United with 4 goals in 6 matches. Chicago Fire drew 1-1 with Montreal. Chicago Fire surprisingly sitting in fourth place in the East. Triple G is doing work with that team, so do not sleep on the Fire. Cincy defeated Nashville 2-1 with a banger by Evander in this match. If you haven't checked out the clips on our
It
Instagram
was very
story, go
nice.
check them out. And that wraps up the Eastern Conference. Grayson, where do you want to start with these matches?
Mm, I'd have to say, I think the big one here, of course, is Philly versus Miami. For me, two of the strongest teams in all of the MLS so far. And this really was like a heat check for me for Philly to see what they could do. And they came up against a really strong Inter Miami, of course. And
Always.
Miami just proved that they are a really good side and continue to be a really good side. Um, that doesn't mean that they're going to win MLS Cup. They could win Supporters Shield and get knocked out first round again.
Yeah.
It's just Inter Miami is such an interesting team. Like I feel like they're perfectly built for the off season. It's it or for post season. Like you wouldn't expect that the Inter Miami side would be built for longevity when you have all these old guys on the squad. But they seem to, be able to last even without Messi. So, and this was a Messi winner here. So almost instantly came onto the pitch, took on his man, and buried it bottom left corners. It was a nice goal. So, but yeah, for me, this proves that Miami really is that good of a squad.
I think the reason Miami struggles so much in playoffs is because half their team is built from guys who've been playing in your typical uh, setup of soccer leagues where you just have to win your regular season and you have a championship versus the MLS format of you make it to the playoffs and then figure out who's going to be champion. So they're only there for the marathon. The sprint at the end, they're just not built for it.
Yeah, it's really difficult, honestly, to compare. I wish there was a bit more emphasis in winning the Supporters Shield. I think the first step would be maybe changing the name from the Supporters Shield to anything else. To me, the Supporters Shield literally sounds like something the fans vote on
Yeah.
and give, you know, it just I feel like the Supporters Shield needs to be given just a bit more respect, and treat the MLS Cup as, its own thing as well. But it's very difficult compared to, European style football because of course they have like the FA Cup, EFL Cup, Carabao Cup. Though I think those are the same. A couple of those are the same. But yeah, Champions League. I mean, come on. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So interesting. Interesting.
Um,
Um,
Chicago Fire sitting in fourth place right now is a surprise for me, especially with the slow start that they had gotten off to for the season. Two losses in games that they could have won, and you could make an argument that they should have won, but since then, climbing the table up into fourth place. I did not expect this from Greg Berhalter is coming back as a head coach. I expected Chicago Fire to struggle a lot more than they have.
mhm. I think that's fair. And it's still very early on into his reign. So I think as the season goes on, if there is issues in the way that Greg is coaching the team, then they'll start to show themselves. But at the moment, you got to give credit where it's due. And, he's starting off the season really hot. And
Hugo
that's
Kuipers has 5 goals.
sneaky. And yeah, Ethan mentioned this last week or maybe a couple weeks ago, but Hugo Kuipers only scores like just effort goals. Like they're barely
Yeah,
getting across the line. Like
yeah.
it's insane. Like none of them are like clean finishes or anything. It's all like just dirty work goals. So I think that's what he's trying to build over there in Chicago is like a team with a lot of grit, team that's going to try and, power out these wins. Um, I'd also say another sneaky one for me is Columbus Crew. I kind of dogged them a little bit last week, but they're like quietly a really good side because they're getting very close wins, like 2-1, 1-0, scrappy wins, just kind of quietly sitting in third. Like Philly and Miami get talked about a lot more than the Crew. I'd also have to say shout out to Orlando. They've gotten a couple dubs in a row here now that really start to show that their offense is really starting to come together. Luis Muriel, Marco Pasalic, Orlando's really starting to come alive. And, beating LA Galaxy isn't as much of a flex as it was last year, but, that's another 2-1 win. Um, so kudos to them. And I also have to say, Evander finding his form again for Cincy is really exciting. That's 2 free kicks in 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure he scored. So
He's so good, bro.
he's so good. I feel like I was actually surprised he went to Cincy. I thought he was going to leave the MLS in the offseason. So we'll see. We'll see how long he stays. Uh, Anything else in the Eastern Conference?
No, most of it kind of played out the way I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing too crazy.
Actually, New England beating the Red Bulls, I did not see happening.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You know, Carlos Hill, he's a special player, and it's about time it showed
Again,
again. Yes, again,
again.
he's a really good player. But yeah, interesting one there. I guess we can go ahead and move on into our intern conference matchups. Only got a couple for this week. But first off, I'll go ahead and talk about the Orlando LA Galaxy matchup. And this one, it really hurt for LA, honestly. Game was super close to being a 1-1 draw. And then literally in the last minute, Luis Muriel would take a shot and JJ McCarthy would just throw it into his own net on
Yeah,
accident. It was terrible. And as much as the LA Galaxy tries to play off that they don't have a goalkeeper issue at the moment,
they
they
do.
have a goalkeeper issue at the moment. Um, and I rate JJ McCarthy. Last season he was fantastic, but confidence comes and goes, and that is a keeper with not a lot of confidence at the moment. But yeah,
They were so close to getting out of this game with a point that having your MLS winning goalkeeper basically throw it in the back of the net on top of your plague of injuries that's happening. Head coach not really being able to figure out the equation as far as the starting 11. We can't be having blunders like that in LA. As a defending
yeah.
champion, you gotta be tighter.
Yeah, it's just so rough. And I missed their goalkeeper from a couple seasons ago. Uh Bond. I don't know what's up with him. I don't know where he ended up going, but I know he's English. I think he played for like Middlesbrough or something. But he was a great keeper. I really rated him, but he got out. He got out. Um, Another interconference match I've got here was Colorado versus Charlotte, and this game was actually a bit of a surprise for me because I would have
Same.
picked Charlotte to win this match pretty easily. But one man has something to say about that, and that man is Jordi Mihailovic. Just once again, just putting Colorado on his back. Like, I would love to count how many times Jordi Mihailovic alone has won games for Colorado. Like, I think,
Ooh.
he's not putting up crazy numbers, but when it comes to the meaning of MVP, like this dude is really the MVP for Colorado.
Yeah.
No doubt. Um, and yeah, he scored a brace, a pen and a goal to give Colorado all 3 points and end Charlotte FC's hot streak. I still rate Charlotte FC. They're just really quiet this match. Um, but Jacob, what do you think this matchup says more about? Do you think Charlotte is still a really good side? You still rate them, or do you think Colorado's starting to pick it up?
I'm gonna say yes to both. I think Charlotte is a really good side. They have like a really great team on paper. Thank God Tim Ream is no longer playing left back for them.
Yeah,
They've got Doumbia out there and putting Tim Ream into his position. You wouldn't expect that they'd give up two goals. I know one comes from a penalty, and then I don't know if you saw the Georgia Mihailovic run of play goal, but it is very, very clean. So I think they just came up against a really good side in Colorado. Colorado also has a ton of firepower as well and are a team that's really built around a counterattack. And when you counterattack better than your opponent possesses the ball, which is what Charlotte FC want to do, you're going to come out of there with 3 points. Because they score the goal and then they like go into like a medium slash low block and then turn around and Georgia Mihailovic on a counterattack puts it away. So yes to both of your questions.
fair, fair. And then yeah, last interconference matchup from this week was Vancouver versus Toronto, and this game also did not go how I expected it to go because Vancouver would end up tying Toronto 0-0, which is MLS is a very surprising result. Um, Vancouver is on top and Toronto is on bottom. Very opposite ends of the spectrum here. Uh, but just wasn't really working out for either team. To be fair, honestly, I was this could have been a game for Toronto to steal 3 points off of I guess a Canadian rival here. So that would have been cool, but
In the
unfortunately,
same breath, this was also a game for Vancouver to like really dominate and put their foot on the throat of a Canadian rival, and neither team was able to find the back of the net.
yeah. So interesting matchup there to end 0-0. So it wouldn't result in movement for either team on the table. 1 point keeps you where you are pretty much. But yeah, that would be all the matchups from the match day 6 in the MLS. Any final notes or storylines you want to chat about before we go?
No, I think we hit him. We've got the goal of the week, which, by the way, spoiler alert, the goal that you voted on, your vote, Grayson, put it over the line to be the winner. So
Thank you
I
very
will
much.
let you talk about the actual voted on goal of the week.
Yes. This goal, I'm trying to remember. This is that was from LAFC, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Smolyakov.
Yeah, Smolikov. I think is was he a midfielder or center back or left back? Left back.
I think he's their defender.
I but either way, this was in the midst of that LAFC comeback. So they're sitting 3-0 down and they're putting the pressure on. They have San Diego clears the ball out to um, Shmirkov, or whatever this dude's name is, defender. He takes a touch and sends a looping hit, bending to the far corner, bar down. So clean, just a beautiful hit. Um, I voted for this one specifically because it was from open play, technically, you know. Um, if you hit, I love a good free kick, don't get me wrong, but if you hit about the same shot from open play as you do a free kick, I'm gonna give the open play
Yeah,
shot the
that's
win
fair.
there. And it was bar down too, so extra points there. Upper 90. It was just beautiful. Like the bend on it was perfect. It was very much a defender's goal. It reminds me a lot of kind of like Vincent Kompany's goal against Chelsea. Just defender hitting the ball as hard as he can, and it just goes in the right spot. So that would be my vote for goal of the week.
And it would end up winning. In last place was the Oluwaseyi counterattack finish off. It was a very, very well done counterattack. That's why it made it into the nominations. Then we had Evander's free kick for Cincinnati. That was in second place, only losing by a single vote. Grayson, your vote did end up nominating the winner.
You're
And then
welcome.
in third place was the Carl's heel, top right of the box, left footed into the top left corner, free kick. But that's
Yeah.
all she wrote for goal of the week.
It was pretty hard to decide between Evander and Carl Steele's free kick. They're both really, really clean. And just another week of some good MLS goals. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I
we
love
were
this league.
treated this week.
I love this league, man. It's so fun.
The competitive balance is like it gets a lot of shit from other leagues as far as like because we don't have pro rel all this stuff, but it does make for every season to be fun and different
Hmm.
and keeping it exciting for the fans. But that being said, I am pro rel. So when we do have another City Boys extra time, we will get into the whole debate of that.
Oh yeah. We'll have to find a week where not much happens on the field. Whatever shitty week where there's no goals, no bangers, we'll talk about that instead.
Everybody ties.
Oh my God, that'd be a terrible match day.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
All right, brother. You want me to close it out?
Yes, sir. Sounds good to
All
me.
right. If you've been watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Specifically, comment your vote for goal of the week. If you've been listening on Spotify, make sure you follow, rate 5 stars, and most importantly, do not forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace.
MLS.
MLS, MLS,
MLS.
MLS.
Best league in the wild, baby.